It has been a terrifically difficult time in the visual arts. I mean, like every other industry, we have been affected by the impact of lockdowns. The interesting thing about the visual arts sector is how long the planning process and the creating process takes place, both before and after. And I think what's really the most worrying for us, and one of the reasons that motivated us to undertake this survey and campaign, was the likelihood of the things not returning to normal when things open up. The impact on the visual arts will be felt for the next 2, 3 to 5 years, just because of the way that galleries and the visual arts sector has to plan its forward action.
Because things don't just happen overnight, do they? I mean, things have to be booked, installations have to be put in, and things will be booked presumably years in advance.
Absolutely. You know, we've heard from artists, and the interesting thing about this as well is that a lockdown in one state doesn't just affect those artists in that state. So we've been talking to artists who have been working for 3 to 4 years for an exhibition to open in Sydney at a point in their career, which is really that transition from emerging to kind of mid-career on the way to established artists, for it to be cancelled. They had no access to any sort of financial relief because the lockdown didn't take place in the state in which they live. But the impact on their career has been detrimental. It's not only the lack of income from opportunities that would come from that major exhibition, but also the actual cost associated with making all of that work in advance, which is really recouped through sales and further opportunities.
And widespread vaccination is obviously the key for the artists here to get things back on track. What's the campaign about, and how are you going about it?
Look, we back the federal government's call for all Australians who are eligible to get vaccinated. We see this as a lifeline to creative recovery in Australia. The Australia Council has also just launched their campaign, as has the music industry and the theatre sectors. We are all together on this. NAVA has launched the Sit for the Artist campaign, which takes from that very old idea of sitting for an artist to paint your portrait. But in this case, we're asking for everyone to sit and get their vaccinations to get us all back exhibiting and participating. And I think, you know, there have been some reports that have come out recently which are so interesting around museums and galleries being trusted places. And as we come together again through vaccination, we want to make it truly a safe and trusted place for Australians to gather.
At the moment, obviously, we are waiting and hoping for a reopening. There must be work going on in the background so that can happen quite quickly when the opportunity arises.
Well, look, that's one of the things we're actually calling for is dedicated funding associated with new work that's not specifically tied to an exhibition or an event. And I know, you know, there have been some really wonderful packages that have been released, and we applaud RISE as well as a number of the state and territory governments that have come out with rescue packages. But artists are having to leave their work creating art to do other jobs to pay the rent. What we want to see is an investment in artists creating new work. So when things do open up, there is that new work to be seen and to be shared, exhibited and sold, toured, all of the things that we really need across this country in our creative recovery to get the industry back on its feet.